Righto. Let's go. February 12th. Welcome everybody to our live franchising series, Valentine's Day. This Saturday. I hope everybody's got something romantic planned. I sure as hell know I don't have anything planned, but hey, that's me. Welcome everybody tuning back into our live series. If this is your first live series, nice to meet you. My name's Emil, the founder and owner of Little Boomers Basketball. We've got 23 franchise locations all across Australia, and I'm teaching you all the learning lessons that we've learned since franchising the last 5 years. If you're a recurring visitor, welcome back. It's great to have you. So what did we talk about last week? Let's quickly summarize last week's episode. Last week, if you haven't watched it already, we spoke about the real costs of starting a kids basketball franchise, and I really broke down the initial franchise investment, right? What you have to pay initially, the ongoing fees that you need to pay as a franchise operator, and the importance of having a buffer, right, for your franchise. So important. If you haven't already, go watch that video. One of the questions I get all the time is, Emil, if, once I pay the investment, is that it? Are there any other fees? Do I need to pay court hire fees, coaching fees? It's a fantastic episode. Go watch it when you can. But this episode is a little bit negative, or the title's a bit negative. It's called it's called The Real, hold on. Here it is. My bad, guys. I looked at the wrong thing. Why most new franchises fail and how to avoid it. Why most new franchises fail and how to avoid it. One of the big debates in the franchising world when you're researching your franchise is if a franchise out and that struggle and that war between the franchise and the franchisor. The franchisor will say the area or the territory didn't work because you didn't put the effort in, you didn't chase up leads, you didn't do the hustle. And then the franchisee will be saying, I'm selling the area because I didn't get any support of the franchisor. I was promised this, I was promised that, and none of it happened. There's always this struggle. There's always this debate. If a franchise isn't working, whose fault is it? Is it the franchisor or is it the franchisee? It's a great question. I'm going to be covering it in today's episode, and I'll give you a great story. When we were interviewing a franchisee that was coming into our network, they were about to be a franchisee. They were with a previous franchise company. Now, I called up that previous franchisor, and I just wanted to get a little bit of a background check on that franchisee that left the network, because I noticed he was only there for 3 or 4 years, which was a bit strange. Anyways, the franchisor, unfortunately, had a lot of negative to say about the franchisee, how he was complaining a lot. He wasn't chasing up leads. He wanted the work done for him. And then when I spoke to the franchisee and, proposed what's the information that's been given to me, what do you think he said? The franchisor, the operations manager changed. I was speaking to someone that was so good, and then somebody else came in. I had to pay all these lead fees. I was paying $1,000 a lead, and none of them were converting. So who do you believe? Do you believe the franchisor, or do you believe the franchisee? I've got 2 different stories. It's like going back into the office at the school principal, when you're in trouble and you heard that side of the story. Oh, wow. Then you hear that side of the story. So we're going to be talking about today. We're going to be talking about that in today's episode, why most new franchises fail and what to avoid. So my first point that I want to bring to your attention of why franchises fail is misaligned expectations from the start. I believe if the expectations aren't aligned before you sign the franchise agreement, you're going to have a lot of misunderstandings in the future. I'm just going to move my chair up, guys. There you go. That's better. Much better. So misaligned expectations from the start. What do I mean by that? If the franchisor, before you sign the franchise agreement, is giving you earning capacities, you're going to earn X amount of dollars in your first year, X amount of dollars guaranteed. Straight away, you've got an expectation, right, when you come into the franchise agreement. So you need to be very careful of those guarantees. A lot of litigation happens because the franchisor promised a guarantee, which is usually revenue or profit, and that didn't happen. Second one is time commitment. You need to really set the expectations of how much time is required in the franchise. Unfortunately, a lot of franchisees come into the business, they want to earn they want to earn a ton of money in their first year, and they want to do minimal work. And if you've got that expectation, you're going to earn a ton of money in your first year and you're going to do minimal work, then what's going to happen when you sign the franchise agreement, when you realize in your first or second year you haven't made much money and you're doing a lot of work in the business? Are you going to have a problem? Yes. Is that why franchisees fail? Yes. A lot of the reason it is. It's misalignment of expectation. So what you need to make sure of is before you sign the dotted line, make sure your expectations are aligned with everything, specifically with earning capacity, revenue and profit, and time commitment. Those are the two most important ones, because in all my discovery calls, I get from people saying to me, so Emil, how much money can I make? And what's the time commitment? Like, can the business run without me? So that's point number one. And I'll give you a real example. I was speaking to a lady the other day who's interested in franchising. And what I do when I'm speaking to all my people, all my potential franchise buyers, is I assess their life. Like this lady, for example, is recently going through a divorce. She's got court settling. She's a single mum and she's got 2 kids, right? So when you take all those considerations, my question to her was, how much time do you think you can realistically devote into the business? Because imagine if I just sold her into the door and said, yeah, don't worry, the business will run without itself. The time commitment is easy. She's going to be greatly disappointed when she comes in and there's all this training happening. She's juggling the kids, she's juggling the settlement and everything that's happening in her life. So I'm very open and honest and transparent before franchisees come into the door with how much time they have available. Okay, let's talk about point number 2 of why most franchises fail. Franchisee brings with them an employee mindset into the business. This is crucial. Bringing an employee mindset into a business. I'll give you a great example. When I was working at my local PCYC, this is before Boomers, I was an employee. When I was coaching, I coached from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. After 3 p.m., I didn't have to think about work. I didn't care. You know, if the class numbers were low, that's not my problem. I'm still getting paid my wage. I didn't have to think about tomorrow. And I left there and I had a really, really fresh mind. I didn't think about work until the next day. That was my manager's job. That was the business owner's job. When I started Little Boomers Basketball, what do you think was going on my mind? Do you think after 5 o'clock I stopped thinking? Absolutely not. If class numbers were low, how am I going to pump up classes? What marketing strategy am I going to do? I'm having a problem with this coach. How am I going to evaluate their performance? All of these things are rattling through your mind as a business owner that you don't have to think about as an employee. But you need to come in with a business owner's mindset. And the main thing is you need to be proactive and not reactive. The great game of business is absolutely brutal. And unfortunately, it does not reward victimhood mentality. If you're going to come into a business, why is this happening to me? You know, our franchisees, a coach might resign on them one day before the term starts, right? That's the type of curveballs that you might have. A venue that you are hiring might say, hey, Saturday morning, 3 hours, no longer available. You've got, you know, next term you don't have it. And then now you've got 100 members, where are they going to go? These are all curveballs. But the thing is, you need to adopt the mentality of proactive, not reactive. Do not have a victim mentality. You need to be in what I like to call the anticipation mindset. You're constantly anticipating. Right? You've got things in place. If this doesn't work out, I'm going to do 1, 2, 3. If this coach resigns on me, I've got a backup plan. If this venue kicks me out, I've got a venue in the backup. That's what I'm talking about when you need to have a business mindset. You cannot bring an employee mindset and expect your business to work. So always be in that mode of anticipation. And our best franchise operators are in that anticipation mindset. They don't take a victim mentality. I'll give you a great example. Our franchisee, Sarabi, North Sydney, gets a call from the venue that he hires 5 hours on a Saturday. Hey, we're giving it to the church. We can't give it to you next term. 100 members go through that door on a Saturday. How did he respond to that situation? Did he panic? Did he worry? Did he call head office in stress? No. In fact, we didn't even know about this problem until 2 weeks later. Do you know what he did in the meantime? He called the school. He did a meeting with the school facility manager. He asked for an extra term. He had a backup venue. And guess what? They reinstated him back into the Saturday. That is what I call anticipation. That is what I call a non-victim mentality. And I salute him for doing that. So point number 3 of why franchises fail and how to avoid it, it's lack of support from the franchisor. Now, this is really where I do feel like it lies on the franchisor. Lack of support from the franchisor. What do I mean by lack of support from the franchisor? The first problem is franchisors over-promising support. And we see that a lot in advertisements. You know, franchisees are trying to recruit franchise companies are trying to recruit franchisees, so we get plastered everywhere. Support, we'll walk you through the entire journey, 24/7 support. Your success is our success. Franchisee comes into the door, and unfortunately, the franchisor doesn't match the support that they said they were going to do before the franchise agreement. So that's problem number one. I think problem number two as well is franchisees get the wrong type of support. And I'll give you an example with this. This is a really good example. We had a potential franchise buyer come down to our head office, and they were interested in franchising. And one of the questions was about support. And I had a feeling that he was going to require a lot of our support and assistance. And when he said to me, asked me a question, he said, Emil, who finds the daycares? Like, do you find the daycares for us? Call them up, win us the business, and we go service them? I said, no. I said, we've got the playbooks, we've got the systems and the structure, but you need to dial up the phone. You need to speak to the daycare centers. You need to call them or visit them. And when he heard that, it wasn't a response that he wanted to hear. He thought that, head office will do all the work for him and he'll just go there and service the business. If that was the case, we might as well not franchise at all. We might as well own everything. And we didn't continue franchising, but I'm very grateful, thank God, that it didn't go ahead, because if I didn't and he came into the franchise, we would have had massive problems down the track. So that's what I talk about when I'm saying wrong type of support. You need to really be clear before a franchisor comes into the network, what exactly is support? Can we be specific about support? And I highly recommend you contact franchisees, because if you ever want to find out what support exactly is, franchisees, they're ruthless. They'll tell you exactly what support head office follows. Okay. Now, the last thing I want to talk about is support. Is sometimes, and this is really important, franchisees go a little bit MIA for a while. And that's why I feel like some new franchises fail, right? Very early on in a business, there's a lot happening. You're a business owner. You got to get tax. You got to set up your entity. You're doing the training. There's a lot happening. And if a franchisee isn't on top of it, they tend to go quiet. And in any franchise, it's never good when a franchisee goes quiet for a long period of time. Long period of time, of course. If they go quiet for a day, it's not the end of the world. But what we've noticed is if a franchisee goes quiet for a long period of time, we don't hear from them, maybe they don't get back to us, they don't return calls, that's never a signal. And that's our indicator where, hey, I think they're struggling. I don't think they're comfortable coming to us. We need to do a meeting. We need to reach out to them and be a little bit proactive. So just remember, I feel like when franchisees are struggling, the early signs, the signs show themselves early, and a good franchise company is proactive and reaches out before the franchisee goes MIA for too long. So what's one clear takeaway, team? We've been speaking a lot about why most franchises fail. One clear takeaway, and that is the data shows that franchising has a higher success than starting a business. Meaning, if you want to be successful as a business owner, if you start up your own franchise, you do have a higher chance in starting up your own business. And the data shows that, right? It's a proven model. It's a proven concept. There's a brand behind it. You've got a higher chance to succeed. But success is not guaranteed just because you're coming into a franchise. And a lot of people say, if I'm coming into a franchise, or think I should say, I'm guaranteed success. And that's not true. There are franchises that fail, whether they go bankrupt, whether they sell, whether they're not making a profit, however you want to categorize fail, there are franchises that fail. So remember these 3 points. Align expectations at the start of the agreement, earning capacity, revenue, profit. Make sure you're fully aligned with that and the time commitment. Point number 2, do not go into a franchise with an employee mindset. Do not adopt a victim mentality. Always be in that anticipation mindset. And the third point is support from the franchisors. Make sure you call franchisees and ask them exactly what does head office support you with and how do they support you with? Because support is a vague word and you want to get really specific on the support that you're going to get as a franchisee. Guys, that brings us to the end of the episode. If you liked it, comment, share it, send hate, send love, whatever you want. I appreciate your time today, guys. If you want to get in touch with me about owning a franchise, there's plenty of information on our website. Other than that, I will see you next Thursday at the next live stream. God bless.